Hello, and thank you for joining us here for game number 4, FlyQuest, going up against Clutch Gaming. Let's go ahead and take a look at the starting rosters. On the blue side, we've got Clutch Gaming, with Huni in the top lane, Lyra in the jungle, Demonte at mid, Cody Sun and Vulcan bottom lane and support, with Coach McScrag.
And selecting red side for this matchup is FlyQuest. In the top lane, Viper. In the jungle, Santorin. Mid laner, Pobelter. Bot and support going to be Wild Turtle and JJ with Coach Invert.
Now, despite their tough schedule so far, it's hard not to be at least a little bit worried for FlyQuest in summer, especially if they suffer a loss here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've had a very difficult last 4 opponents, but still, if you're trying to shoot for the top of the tables, if you're trying to challenge the top 3, you need to be able to take down these sorts of teams. And to be fair to them, their first game was also Cloud9, right? So this is probably the hardest possible strength of schedule that they could have really had. And yesterday they did draft for their star player. They drafted the Riven for Viper. He played well, but they did not really play around it. They did not really kind of attack that lane and get him ahead of TL. And we kind of heard Jensen's criticism for Pobelter, and he was proven right a little bit. I mean, he did pull his jungler to the mid lane and get an early advantage, but they didn't do anything with that, right? They took that early lead, they sat on it, they farmed it out, and they never were really able to snowball that at all.
And across the rift, Pobelter's facing up against Demonte, who last week wanted to prove that his team was better than their record at the time and could deliver with a win today.
Yeah, and a win here could pull them from the bottom of the standings, right? They're sitting at 2 and 3 right now. They want to move to 500. They want to be challenging for one of these playoff spots. And last split, you would have said this is very much FlyQuest favored, but Clutch Gaming is within reach of the former 4th place team. They are really starting to look like a stronger squad.
I mean, Clutch Gaming is the one team to have handed a loss to Golden Guardians so far. So now, if they take down FlyQuest, they will have defeated both the teams that were in sort of that challenger spot up against the big 3 of TSM, Cloud9, and Liquid. And that's quite a statement to make this early on in the split. So it could be very promising here for Clutch, but we'll have to see how this one plays out. We're into Champion Select. Clutch Gaming with no love for the support so far. Get rid of the cat, get rid of Sona, make sure that those special strategies are not available whenever she's involved. FlyQuest going to take out some solo laners, getting rid of Rumble and Jace. Rumble particularly paying respect to Huni.
Yeah, exactly. Huni has been playing quite a bit of Rumble. Certainly is his signature champ. Has already played it 3 times thus far this split, so not going to be able to have that available for him today. And it's more been Demonte playing the Jace. Huni has not actually piloted yet this split. Obviously, it can still go top lane, and that is kind of where it is more commonly played.
Okay, with Aatrox banned away from Clutch Gaming, there's only 1 ban left to go. FlyQuest going to decide on the Sejuani. We've been seeing so much of that champion lately. She's kind of risen to top tier in the jungle. Tons of engage, tons of survivability. Grabs a Warmogs decently early on and just regenerates constantly. So champion rather hard to deal with, but if we're talking about champs that are very, very strong right now, at least until the nerf bat takes out his knees, Sylas locked in.
Probably last day we're going to see a lot of Sylas, I feel like, in the LCS as some big nerfs did come through, as you say, but has been such a monstrously strong solo laner in the LCS for quite some time and really across the world. See what champions are going to be kind of selected for FlyQuest, because I always feel like that somewhat dictates the power of Sylas when you have a lot of really strong ults to take. I think your power really does ramp up. But that being said, even without incredible ultimates to steal, the wave clear is very, very strong. You can push in your opponent early on. You're great in skirmishes. You scale incredibly well into the late game. You can team fight. You can side lane. It feels like Sylas could basically do everything.
Well, FlyQuest is saying, you want 1 flex pick, we're going to take 2 of them. Ryze and Irelia locked in here, going for both those solo lanes early on. As Clutch Gaming, they saw that the Sejuani's banned out. They're going with another tanky option here in the jungle with the Skarner, and they're picking up Lux.
I can almost guarantee it's going to be Pobelter playing the Ryze, though. He is the guy who has already played it a couple times this split. Very heavily likes to play in the side lanes on that champion, and Viper certainly known for his Irelia. Past that Riven, it is one of his better champions. We are expecting this Lux to be support. That is certainly where it has been getting so much popularity. People really looking at that Lux support as someone that is very difficult to all in, that team fights incredibly well with the W max. The shielding is so incredibly powerful, and we are going to get Elise. It feels like Santorin really the only one kind of going to this. It has actually been banned against them. They have played it already once. That was in their 1 win in that kind of pop-off game against TSM, rather, using that Elise to help to get Viper ahead. And I do think that playing around in Aurelia with the Elise makes quite some sense. You do have very strong 2v2 up on the top side. You have the ability to dive and reset the turret aggro with the repel. Elise, a powerful early game jungler, so I want to see Santorin getting active early on with it.
Oh yeah, at least dumps on Skarner early on in the game. There's absolutely nothing Skarner does to contest her. You run at her, even if you tag her with your E, all she does is immediately turn around, go through her entire combo, you lose 3/4 of your health, you flash your mastery, and you walk back into your own jungle to farm chickens. That's pretty much how Skarner versus Elise is going to go. So I want to see Santorin making some plays. Get these flex picks ahead. Get these powerful solo laners to the point where they can just set up shop in a side lane and run the game from there.
And yesterday, to his credit, playing that Rek'Sai, he did get multiple early kills off on Jensen. He was having a very good beginning of the game, but they just weren't able to really turn that lead in mid lane into anything else. That did not result in objectives. That did not result in a bigger CS lead or anything along those lines. And that's where FlyQuest really needs to make sure that they are excelling. Going to be grabbing up the Sivir, though. Okay. So some late game insurance here coming through in the form of the Sivir. Strong wave clear if you want to play in the 1-3-1. Sivir's always a great marksman to have. Can wave clear really forever with the Essence Reaver. You can drop her in the mid lane, and it's going to be support pick for last for JJ. So once again, a total picture of what sort of bot lane they would be going up against, and could be picking heavily for that 2v2. We'll see if they can find anything to really give themselves an edge down there.
And you've seen Clutch Gaming target that specifically. Tahm Kench and Karma, their second phase bans, both going towards the support role. FlyQuest wanted to remove some AD carry power as well as another solo laner with the Gangplank and the Caitlyn. However, it's going to be Clutch Gaming locking themselves in the Xayah to go with Lux, and Akali will be their second solo laner. Both teams double flex pick solo lanes.
Yeah, double flex pick solo lanes does feel like it's kind of a little bit more of a well-balanced composition though over on the side of FlyQuest. It's always nice when you can have one of the physical flex picks in addition to one of those magic damage flex picks. It does make it fairly easy to itemize there for Viper if he wants to be in a side lane. Things along the lines of Wit's End can be incredibly powerful against the likes of the Akali and the Sylas. And Nautilus going to be that last pick. We'll see what they can get done with this. They did need some sort of reliable engage, so that really was the answer. I think this is less about the lane and more about the team fight. How do you actually force fights? Sivir Nautilus is a great answer there. But as far as actually being able to pull off all-ins, I think it is unlikely on the Lux, who will likely take Aftershock. And Aftershock Lux with the W max, with that shield max, becomes so difficult to actually burst down. So Sivir, Nautilus, their job likely just to kind of farm it out. I do expect FlyQuest to be focusing on those solo lanes and trying to get them ahead, trying to get them out to those side lanes and take over the game.
And I like FlyQuest composition. You've got that hard engage that you mentioned in the Nautilus. You've got follow-up in Elise and Ryze. And who on Clutch Gaming is going to be the one to tank that? The tankiest guy on your team will be a Skarner who goes for a Cinderhulk into a Righteous Glory usually. That's mostly just a big pile of health. Not a ton of resistance is there to make you exceptionally tanky. I feel like FlyQuest can pick and choose who they want to go after, and nobody from Clutch Gaming should be tanky enough to just say, no, you can't attack me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. You really can kind of engage on whoever you do want, whoever you can find out. And a lot of onus is going to be on Lyra. I do think that Clutch sometimes is one of the teams that drafts these types of compositions a lot, where you have very little engage and it's so early game dependent. You have to be winning your lanes to be able to force fights and to be able to take objectives and do these sorts of things. Because what is their way to start a team fight? Well, it's Skarner running at you. That's about it, right? There's no real hard engage. There's nothing guaranteed along the lines of this Nautilus. So I do think starting fights will become much more difficult. And that does mean if FlyQuest is winning in the early stages, well, how do you turn that around? How do you actually, turn things kind of back in your favor? That can become very, very difficult, I feel, for these types of comps. And it's something Clutch has certainly struggled with in the past.
Well, Clutch at least has some good counter engage with the Lux and Xayah being able to go into the ult. So if you fall behind, you just hope your opponents do something boosted, and then you take advantage of it, turn the fight in your favor. But right now, update for you guys as to why we are not looking at Summoner's Rift just yet. It appears there was a trading error with the champions for the side of Clutch Gaming. DeMonte was supposed to trade with Vulcan there, make sure the Lux was on the support position. Trade didn't go through, so the lobby will be remade the exact same way that it just was. We're not redoing any picks, not redoing any bans. We just got to make sure they get the right champions in their hands, and then we are going to Summoner's Rift.
Sounds good. And yeah, I mean, you certainly can hope that your opponents make a mistake, and there are obviously many ways for them to win out this draft. If you win early game, it doesn't really matter as much. You can still play to the side lanes. You can win 1v1s. You can force around objectives. It's just more of a narrow win condition, and something we've seen teams in NA certainly struggle with at times. If you do kind of have this one way to win the game and the other team plays well around it, that becomes very difficult, right? If you fall behind and they just refuse to team fight and they just play in the side lanes the whole game, well, what is your way to really hard engage and do that? It is Skarner Flash Ultimate, but that becomes more and more difficult as you get into late stages of the game. People have QSS. If you're the only one who can start a fight, I think that can be very, very tough, but we'll have to see how Clutch is able to play around that.
Yeah, people have QSS. Sivir has a natural spell shield. You don't want to be ulting Nautilus if you can help it, just because all he has to do is press his R, and he's like, all right, I'm done. I'll see you guys later once I come back to life. And then you're dealing with a Ryze, and you're dealing with an Elise, who are both eventually going to have an Hourglass or a Seraphs for the Ryze, at least most likely. And the chance of actually killing that champion in the duration of the Skarner ulti before they can get off one of those survivability mechanisms is pretty low. Normally, you're not going to get that instant kill, which means the pulls are going to be a little tricky this game for the side of Clutch.
Yep, and there still are tons of ways, obviously, that they can win. You can win through lane. You can get team fights around objectives. You can use flanking TPs and those sorts of things to start fights. But FlyQuest certainly, I think, has more clear win conditions. Anytime you have Sivir plus a bunch of guys who want to run at you, it's pretty
Just run
strong.
together.
Exactly. You
Have
press
a good old
R,
time with your buddies.
you look for the engage. It works very, very well. And Sivir, I think, ever since Essence Reaver has kind of risen into popularity, Sivir is even stronger early in the game than some of these other champions. Even on one item, you're fairly effective. The CDR is going to give you more additional utility for your ultimate. That's going to be up more often. You're never going to run out of mana when you are just kind of parked in mid lane wave clearing. So it is such a strong champion right now, and that is why we are seeing a tremendous amount of it, alongside the rise of these crit marksmen.
Crit, the name of the game for both of them. And of course, it's going to be the same story bottom lane as it is everywhere else on the map, but even more so when you're both trying to hit those 3-item breakpoints. If one team focuses around bottom, they're very successful, or maybe one team focuses around bottom and the other team's able to successfully turn it around. If you have an AD carry that's good in a team fight and your opponents don't, that's going to change the way you have to fight, and that plays into exactly what you were talking about, man, where you can't do so much if you fall so far behind and you have narrow win conditions, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Xayah is going to scale well here too. So, certainly does have the ability to kind of have a lot of follow-up CC. If you are able to get a Skarner ult or a Lux Binding, you can, throw the root through there and try to follow up in that way. And I think Cody Sun has had a pretty good season so far. It has been kind of more of a traditional style of team, I feel like, that Clutch is able to kind of succeed with when you compare to last split, where most of their wins really were Piglet on Aurelia playing these kind of crazy run-at-you style comps.
Yeah.
They're back to playing marksman. They are back to having that late-game win condition, which is really what Cody Sun has done for most of his career on Immortals, on 100 Thieves. He is always that guy that kind of farms it out in the early stages, but is very consistent in the late-game team fights.
All right, we are finally on to Summoner's Rift for the 4th game of the day. Clutch Gaming up against FlyQuest, breaking out onto the map now. Hooney taking an extra second, had to buy his corrupting potion. First purchase didn't work. We've all been there before. At least he didn't get out onto the map and realize he forgot it.
Yeah, the absolute worst is if you buy the wrong item and then run out and you can't undo.
It's like, oh no, what did I buy this thing for?
But they're looking for potentially a little bit of a sneaky invade here.
Is that a little bit of Gorgonzola I smell?
Yeah, I mean, you come around that. Oh, he just got spotted.
All right.
Vulcan, I think, stepped a little bit too far forward. They're not even going to get to kill the ward. So Vulcan not quite on the same page with the rest of his team, it seemed there. If you're going to go for that, you really kind of want to come around the corner with your binding. It has to be pretty much immediate. To try to get flash or try to get that binding out of fog. Once they see you, they're immediately going to back off. And as a result, they do take down one ward, but FlyQuest is going to have the opportunity to get down a ward of their own. They took down the Skarner Spire. They drop a ward by chickens, so they're going to be able to have an idea of where Skarner is heading on that second camp.
Yeah, plus you kill a ward, you get 10 gold for it. FlyQuest takes the Skarner Spire, which gives them 15 gold or 30 if you have multiple people capturing it. Ha! 7.5 for each person. It says 8 and 7 because it won't display a decimal, but that's what it is.
Yeah, and the other thing is always, if for a solo laner, when you get the ward kill, the additional experience there means you actually level up one creep earlier. So sometimes that can be impactful in the 1v1. If Viper isn't actually paying attention to that, Hooney would get level 2 a little bit faster than he is expecting. And that can result in some significant lane advantages, but it is actually Hooney thus far. Hooney has gone mid lane, and so is Viper. So the top laners going over to mid lane here.
Both sides
Mids are
expecting
playing
a lane
top.
swap, so they swap it out, and it's just all
Yeah.
topsy-turvy.
This feels to me like you're trying to avoid a matchup and the other team just actually swapped to match, right? You know, it's just one of those situations where it's like, oh, okay, really don't want to play into that Aurelia, and then Huni goes mid, they see it, they do run down and actually look to answer. So pretty interesting, and I will be curious to see if it does result in kind of one of these games where it is people running back and forth, and actually swapping lanes. We have seen those in the past where people are trying to actively dodge a matchup non-stop.
Those are pretty silly, as everybody push a wave, back to base, push a wave, back to base, push a wave, back to base, until somebody just gets fed up with it. But looking at the runes this time around, Pobelter does have the Comet on Rise. Sometimes you'll see something like an Aftershock, especially against a champion that could have a big all-in threat against you, but he just wants to have the extra damage potential here up against Demonte Zakali that will be running the Conqueror himself.
And I actually kind of like the way that the swaps resulted for Clutch. I've got to say, I do think that generally Aurelia, to really be able to kind of heavily threaten onto the Sylas, needs a bit of a longer lane to be able to kind of chase down and actually execute any sort of kills. And Rise, I think, is always much more vulnerable in the top lane than in the mid lane. You are a champion that has to push in, that doesn't really have any strong natural escapes, so you can be pretty susceptible to something like an early Predator Skarner gank.
Well, early Predator Skarner ganks aren't going to be that easy when Santorin uses the Scryer's Bloom to see that the enemy blue buff is live. He sees that Lyra is on it. He invades and takes this one. There's no way Lyra can try to defend it. He knows his mid laner is under turret right now. He's not going to get help. Rough spot.
This is actually so nice by FlyQuest as well. They send their bot lane up to the scuttle, knowing that that is where the Skarner would have to head. So Lyra was actually running straight down for that scuttle crab. But FlyQuest has already preempted it, and the missing pings meant that, all right, well, he knows that bot lane's there, so can't go there either. Santorin takes his Gromp away, so Santorin has top scuttle and 3 camps to retreat to, and now he's looking for Demonte.
Santorin going for this kill, forces the flash, and that'll be enough. Summoner spell also going the way of FlyQuest.
Yeah, really nice start here, being able to not only protect Pobelter by using this aggressive invade, you get the flash off Demonte, which is going to feel great. Now it is Demonte actually TPing back to mid lane. So we'll see if they do swap. Huni looking like he is going to be the one to head up to the top side and will answer there. But already a good start, and Lyra is going to try to invade perhaps and take some of these camps on the bottom side, but he's been spotted by the scuttle, and that becomes a very risky proposition.
And once again, the lanes are swapped. Now Rise and Akali have made their way towards mid lane, teleport for teleport. Nobody having to hoof it, thankfully, because those TPs were available. But again, I want to see how dedicated they are to these swaps and keeping these as the matchups. Clutch Gaming, obviously the ones wanting to try to change it up because they switched first. FlyQuest having to answer that. As the tier is already built on the Rise, means he's going to be stacking up there. Mid lane, you can see Aurelia working on that Tiamat, so she's able to farm up nice and easy. Demonte back up to top. It's not going to stop it.
No, I don't think it is. It's like I said, when you see that initial swap, Sylas, it's more likely that you can just get ran down in that top lane. So I do think that they're trying to have Sylas just dodge the Aurelia matchup in the long lane. They don't want Huni matching up against Viper here, so they're going to keep running him away essentially from the Aurelia and just trying to orchestrate this matchup where you have Demonte up against Pobelter in that long lane, where then theoretically Lyra can come up and gank him and try to pick on this Rise.
Well, we've sent Huni back to the mid lane yet again, and we will send Viper back there for him from the side of FlyQuest. So lots of switching going on, and now Huni's saying, all right, they're going to send Viper middle, so we're going to pre-bamboozle him, send me back top. Already got his way back up to the river.
Yeah, I mean, he's heading up. He is actually just going to, well, I don't know what he's going to do. Yeah, he's going to fully commit to it. They may just try to show up 2-man top, and maybe FlyQuest won't be expecting this. This is actually just Huni coming in to gank Pobelter in that long lane. It's not the Skarner.
EOB only level 5. Huni not finding the skill shots he needs. Going to whiff everything there. Pobelter has to use the flash, but still gets away with plenty of HP.
Yeah, not a bad attempt, though, and Skarner is now up here, so they do have 3 members top. That said, they're going to be losing farm in that mid lane, and Viper is now on the roam here, so Clutch has to be a little bit careful. They want to get Huni back to the mid lane to pick up this farm, but he's going to have to likely go the safe way and kind of getting escorted over by the Skarner, and he just turns around. So now it's a Akali going mid lane. He's going to go back to top, so The musical chairs do continue.
As we've been watching this musical chairs for the past 6 minutes or so, I want to check in on bottom lane here real quick because we haven't looked at them so far this game. 50 to 54 in terms of CS, pretty even. However, Cody's got a lot of minions here still to pick up, so should be able to grab himself a slight lead as long as he farms these up correctly. I'll see how well he does at it. Melee minions taken care of. Nice. Oh, nice. Ooh. Oh, nice. All right, Vulcan got it. That's worth half a point.
All right, yeah, we'll give him half a point. The ones that are like, you know, the range minion that is actually in one hit range of the turret, those are more difficult. And what you would actually need to have happen there is instead of just waiting, your support actually needs to start auto-attacking it to really low health so that you can just one-hit it, right? You can't afford to actually just leave it there. There's nothing that the marksman can do by himself while last hitting the others to really get that one. So would have had to be something that Vulcan did grab, but at the same time here, the earlier base for Turtle means that they're going to be able to start up this dragon. Cody-san does TP you back, but it's level 6 on Turtle. You have the stronger jungler. Viper is hovering. They're going to be able to grab the Infernal and get themselves a nice early lead.
Very good early pickup here for the side of FlyQuest. Santorin a little bit behind Lyra. Worth noting that Lyra now has the Flash Predator ultimate on the Skarner. At least while a very powerful champion, especially early on, one of the negatives about playing her is the fact that you don't enjoy that same level 6 power spike that 99% of the champions in the game do.
Yeah, it's definitely a good point. And honestly, you know, Santorin, while it was a good early move, you know, the invade, forcing the flash, he has not been spam ganking. He has not really been doing anything too crazy. This is honestly pretty similar to the last time he did play at least, where he played it fairly passively. He was sitting also in that game around level 7, level 8 at 0-0-0. But you know, they were able to win that game, and he is now hovering down here around the bottom side. They do have Nautilus 4 engaged, and they can look for this one. We'll see how close JJ is to level 6. They might be waiting for that level 6 on Nautilus here, and there it is.
All he needed was the one creep. Vulcan the target. He doesn't have the ability to get himself away like the Xayah does, and that's first blood over to FlyQuest. Turtle gets himself out. He's going to be taken low, but not low enough. Clutch Gaming will not get any in return.
That was actually so close to a return kill. I do believe that Lux died during ultimate animation. I don't think that damage actually went off. Otherwise, it likely would have killed Turtle. And Vulcan had a great binding onto Santorin as he was coming in to try to deny that entrance into the fight, but now here is Lyra.
All right, being pulled right back towards Huni, following it up there with the stun, making sure they've got plenty of CC. Pobelter cannot warp through the realm in time, and that is a response kill from Clutch on the other side of the map.
Yeah, really well done, and they're trying to pick on Ryze in this long lane. So much more difficult for the Ryze to survive up there, and again, that is one of the big reasons they are doing these non-stop lane swaps back and forth, trying to orchestrate these matchups that they do want. And JJ with an attempt to roam towards mid, but not able to get it. And here is that bot lane kill once more. As soon as he hits 6, watch the binding though. Nailed onto Elise, and we'll see. The ultimate does begin to channel. Yep, didn't actually go off, so died during the animation. Turtle would have for sure gone down there. That was actually really well played by Vulcan. Flashes away, hits the binding on the Elise as he is entering, but just didn't quite have enough health to survive for that ultimate to land.
Turtle dropping down to about 100 HP before the Triumph kicked in. Certainly a death sentence there for the... What do we even call her ultimate?
Final Spark?
Final Spark, yeah. I was initially, my brain was going towards the old one that I couldn't pronounce. So
I don't know what the old one is. I got nothing.
Neither do I, because I've even played with it for a couple of years. I can't read it. But yeah, the old one.
If you're going towards the old one, then you also didn't.
Yeah, exactly. My brain was leading me on a wild goose chase through the forest, but whatever. Doesn't matter right now. Huni in some trouble here in the mid lane. Half of the flash away. Chain CC would have been real deadly there if Santorin and Pobelter could have got the claws.
Yeah, I like the early flash. You know, no worth. And I know he's kind of risking that one when you can get Room Prison into a cocoon. That is certainly going to be your death this early on. Very, very squishy, but it does have early Merc Treads to answer some of that CC. There is a lot of hard card control on the side of FlyQuest, so I think Merc Treads are kind of a bit of a must-buy for some of these melee champions.
Merc Treads always feels good to buy against plenty of AP damage and CC as bottom side Turtle and JJ. Just going to continue pushing up here, doing with Sivir what Sivir does. Make sure that minion wave is constantly in the face of your opponents. Cody will just keep farming it up, though, not too worried about that himself. Next Drake, not alive here for a while, but you can see Drake Pit and bottom side river control still being exercised by FlyQuest here. They want to make sure that as Turtle and JJ are pushing up, they're safe to do so.
Yep, exactly, and it will be that Wind Dragon coming up next. We'll see if FlyQuest do want to try to challenge for that, would be another good one for them when you are playing heavily in the side lanes and when you are looking for all that additional speed from the Sivir ultimate. Trying to go for those engages can be pretty powerful. But thus far, very even early game, and we do have Damonte working towards that expected Gunblade, and that is really where Akali does turn on.
Yeah.
You become so much more powerful on that one item power spike. Aurelia likewise will be working towards the Triforce, and that is a very big buy for Viper too, but it's going to be quite delayed because you're taking that pit stop before the Tiamat, which is so effective on Aurelia, mainly for the wave clear and also setting up those...
Oh, nice engage coming out there from the side of FlyQuest, looking to bring down the enemy top laner. Santorin going to be kept alive only for a moment, pulled back into his doom. Lyra now going to be the target, flashing away, but he will not survive. The pursuit from Viper is there. POB keeping himself alive against Damonte. He's spinning around in the smoke, and he's got himself a kill. A double even as he gets away with the Shuriken flip. FlyQuest cannot chase any further.
Yeah, nicely done. Trading back there ends up being 2 for 2. It does look like both teams dead even still. That was the teleport, though, from Damonte. Viper used both his summoners there, so quite a few summoners expended, honestly, on both sides. The early QSS already bought up here by Pobelter, knowing that he has to really respect that power of the Skarner this early on. Yes, Ryze's range, but you're very, very short range. Here, this is one more time. Huni did a pretty good job, actually, buying time after the initial engage. You can see the big shielding coming through from Vulcan, buying a lot of time as well. The binding came down. Pobelter does arrive, but in comes Damonte with the teleport. The Skarner ultimate helps to get them their first kill onto Elise, and then Damonte just kind of dipping around, buying time for the cooldowns, gets the empowered auto, misses the Q, but hits the ultimate to execute Pobelter. And the smooth Shuriken flip to safety.
Easy Drake secure there for Santorin. Solo as well. That bottom side river control paying some dividends there, providing them that objective for free. As FlyQuest still only having a 100 gold lead.
Yeah.
The closer the game is, the more those Drakes are going to mean those small advantages that you're building up that aren't tangible on the scoreboard.
Yeah, they certainly are. And anytime you do have a damage-dealing jungler, Infernal is even nicer, right? Because Elise is going to stack AB. That's just another source of that bonus damage that is going to be useful for the Infernal. So here we go. The answer on the top side. Clutch trying to take down this Rift Herald. Plates have already fallen, but first turret is still up for grabs. So they could look to use it for that. You can see that top lane turret very, very low. Would be pretty much a guaranteed first turret if they do decide to run straight up top and drop it.
Yep, not really too hard to handle there. It is passed off to Lyra, who will follow towards this top side. You can see the assist me ping coming out towards the tri-brush, just saying, all right, I don't know who's in here. There is an enemy control ward. We'll have to see how this plays out. Pobelter clears that one away, and here comes your engage. Huni's able to find the initial lockdown. Pobelter pulled back, goes for the QSS, and there's your problem. This, ladies and gentlemen, is
always
a
got the
prime
Ryze ult.
time for a Skarner tip as Pobelter tries to get himself away. If you prime your target with the E before going for the pull, which would have been easy there because he was running in one direction only, you can then stun him with the E. He will either psych himself out and cleanse that so you can ult, or you can just ult, and as soon as he cleanses it, you're A-clicking and you will auto-attack him and get the stun afterwards anyway, providing the kill.
Yeah, and in that case, as you say, he got the QSS out, but wasn't able to hit the Fracture, so couldn't actually follow up for that dive, and Pobelter ends up getting away. A good escape from him, and getting some good value out of that early QSS buy already, saving him from one death. They're going to drop this mid lane, though. 4 members of Clutch have arrived. You can see that Viper and JJ are on their way up here. They want to try to defend this.
FlyQuest has already managed to deal with Shelly. A
TP
TP's coming in.
That's
The
double
very
TP.
nice binding comes out from Vulcan to buy themselves some time. Viper nearly killed, has to get himself away. Turtle's able to find the first kill, but there's an immediate response from Damonte. Turtle is way far forward. He's not quite going to find the kill he's looking for. Taken down below half, but will not be eliminated. It's 1 for 1.
Oh, another 1 for 1 here. These two teams blow for blow thus far in the game, but it is Pobelter going down compared to just a support kill on the side of Clutch with Vulcan falling there. So you're going to be feeling pretty good about this play, I still think, from Clutch, despite the fact that FlyQuest did defend this Rift Herald. You know, this is double TP coming in, Sivir as well as the Ryze arriving from behind. The great binding from Vulcan sets up for the 1 kill. They almost got Viper, aren't able to do so. They almost got JJ as well, but not quite enough damage to finish him off. Then Turtle couldn't hit actually the Q. The Boomerang Blade did not land onto Huni. He is able to walk out as a result, just barely. So many low health bars in that fight.
This is a pretty fun game so far. Both these teams just
Very
constantly challenging and answering one another. 8 kills at 16 minutes. 27.8 thousand gold, 27.3. Only 500 separating them. Clutch Gaming, of course, with that first turret. That's where that lead comes from. Look in the inventory of Lyra. You can see that bracer, which means most likely going for the Righteous Glory as item number 2. Very effective on the full tank Skarner build. Gives him another one of those go buttons. And as the primary engage, pretty much the only engage for his team, you'll need as many of those as you can get.
Yeah, you definitely will. And it's a trade of turrets across the map. Mid lane turret going down there for Clutch, so they're going to be happy about that trade. And I do want to point out, you know, all this great vision that we have actually set up across here. This line of wards in this whole area really was kind of what was trying to give the safety for Pobelter to walk down and knock down that tier 1 turret. He would know if there was going to be any sort of early response to his push, and as a result, can knock down a turret of his own. But Demonte, you know, certainly sitting at a very strong point in the game, and he did actually go Stork Boots, so much more for the damage instead of those Merc Treads, which means he is playing really on this fine line. This is going to up your burst, and that will feel nice, but if you make any sort of mistake and you are not able to use the Shroud or your Shuriken Flip or your ult to dodge one little bit of CC, you're very likely going to get crowd controlled down and just blown up before you can ever get out.
Pretty rough spot to be in such a situation. As Clutch Gaming moves himself forward, trying to set down some wards. FlyQuest putting down a couple control wards of their own, but those will be cleared away as Clutch continues to roam around as 5. Flash, and not Predator yet, but Lyra still having that flash available. He can make a pull on anybody he wants, remember. Ulti coming out, Nautilus ulti stolen away by the Silas. Nice damage coming in from Vulcan, but now the counter engage comes out. FlyQuest gonna lose their support. It is a 1-for-0 for Clutch Gaming.
Yeah, good engage. JJ just gets shredded there as he turns to try to tank up for his team, and it means that Clutch are gonna be able to grab this dragon no problem. The Mountain Dragon will give them more access to taking down the Baron. You know, speeds up your Baron take by a couple seconds, so certainly can be pretty impactful when it is kind of those close attempts that you're trying to rush down and kill it off before your opponents do arrive. Also does always open up for possibilities for 2-man Baron plays and these sorts of things here too.
Clutch Gaming finally coming out a little bit ahead there. No response from FlyQuest on that play means they at least get the victory of the Drake in that. And now Pony will be splitting down here on the bottom side. Pobelter showing up to answer that split push. 155 to 159 in the farm between these two guys. Most important thing to remember, though, is Pobelter does have some money sunk into that QSS that you previously mentioned. If you look at Pobelter's inventory, it's a blue garage sale. You've got a Lost Chapter, you've got a Tier, you've got a Merc Tread, and a QSS. These items are all fun and cool and blue, but none of them are a completed item just yet. It's still not that threatening.
Yeah, it's definitely not super threatening just yet, but at least it's a nice garage sale. You know, they're selling some
bougie
lemonade,
garage.
You know,
yeah.
They give you maybe a little fan. It's a hot day outside or something. I don't know. I mean, they're good items, and he's going to be completing
now we
them
got
pretty
it.
quickly. Also, the QSS is very effective, even as this kind of one little piece, because anyone he's going to be answering in a side lane is dealing magic damage, right? So, you know, that does make it more effective. There is still the mini stun from the Akali. There is the chain stun from Huni. So even in those 1v1 scenarios, there will be some use for it. Yes, it is not as effective as having that earlier completed Archangels, but he has hit that point now and going to be feeling pretty good about his chances, I think, in any sort of a 1v1. But Pobelter, you know, he does have this kind of habit of getting caught out sometimes in side lanes. You know, he is certainly a guy who plays a lot of Rise, who plays very heavily through those side lanes, and oftentimes he gets caught out and punished. And we've seen a lot of games end that way for him over the years. So, you know, you really want to see them establishing vision for him and him playing safely around that. But as of now, there is no vision from FlyQuest really whatsoever in this area. It is pretty much only Clutch. They have full vision control in this quadrant of the jungle, and as a result, Pobelter can't do anything at this point except sit under his turret. They are, though, having eyes on a lot of these members, so it's Viper just pushing heavily in this bottom side, trying to work down on this turret and trying to force some sort of response.
Viper trying to get that split push money going on as Huni will be sent to answer him. The Clutch Gaming Goon Squad that went top trying to take down that tier 2. Not quite enough damage to find it, but Huni wants to go further forward, even going to stop there. Doesn't want to chase through a minion wave towards Viper. This Irelia is pretty strong at this point in time. Does have the Trinity Force completed now. Working towards that next item as Cody, Sun, and Vulcan will continue trying to clear waves here in mid lane. Past 20 minutes means Baron is on the table. There is a Mountain Drake, as you already mentioned, for Clutch Gaming. FlyQuest have themselves an Infernal for some bonus damage of their own, so either side does have potential to go for an early one of these if their opponents do not respect them.
Yeah, they definitely do. And as Clutch went for the reset, it's FlyQuest moving in and reestablishing vision, and the binding does connect.
It's going to be a TP coming in from the side of Clutch Gaming. Santorin wants to flash himself over the wall. Huni's now going to be in some trouble. Blasco not able to get him away, but he doesn't even need to run. It's JJ who flashes over the wall. It's Damonte on a rampage, and Pobelter goes into the realm war, but Damonte will chase after him. He has some fancy feet to try to get himself away. Lyra goes underneath the turret, but instead he's going to be killed along with his target. Both junglers taken out as
Viper.
Wild Turtle goes on the hunt, looking to chase this one even further. Viper looking to grab someone off to the side, but a very nice dodge and an ult for ult from Cody Sun. Viper's still going to be tanking up here on the front line as FlyQuest will not chase any further.
Yeah, FlyQuest going to be pushed back there. Lyra does trade his life out 1-for-1. They did kill Santorin, though, in the extended play, fully committing to diving over onto him. Clutch wanted to chase for more. They didn't feel comfortable to turn back towards the Baron or to stop after that initial play. And here it is, Huni on the flank after Santorin had been jumped onto. Santorin just in full retreat, but the soul laners here from Clutch both flashing over, getting the initial kill on the support, then chasing over onto Pobelter. Lyra going forward. He knows the QSS is available on Pobelter, so he flashes and he ults Santorin, but Pobelter has the Rune Prison available, roots him in turret range, so they look to turn this around. Then Viper looking for the ult. That's a point-blank ultimate, so nice read on the animation from Cody Sun. Viper decides he can try to go forward anyway, but does end up having to flash out defensively as he did step a little bit too far forward there.
Pobelter once again back in the side lane as you were talking about. The wards, a couple of them down around there with control wards in the side brush and in the tri-brush that he just now placed. You can also see Santorin moving into the enemy jungle now, bringing the rest of the guys with him. They're saying, hey, might be able to find a pick here onto Damonte, and if they get that, it could be real big here for the side of FlyQuest, but Damonte's not going to walk up through that shortest path towards mid. Instead, wants to stay plenty safe, knows that there's a lot of FlyQuest members off the map.
And they all are actually heading back over towards this Baron as they think Clutch is on it. Yeah, and they can see them with this ward. They would have seen them walking into the pit, so they should have knowledge that they could be on this. I'm actually really surprised they're not checking.
No knowledge.
I mean,
now you see
range.
it. This is
like,
way too late of a response from FlyQuest, and that is free Baron for Clutch Gaming.
We're going to need to see that replay because I want to see if they actually did walk over that ward to enter the pit, because there was that ward outside of the Baron pit, which shouldn't show inside, but should have seen the entrance. It should have tipped their hand that they were going to actually start it up, and I'm not sure if somehow they just barely snuck around it, or if FlyQuest just was not paying attention to their minimap. So hopefully we can get that replay. Let's see. You know, he is going to walk by. Yeah, they see Huni walking straight in and use the ability.
Yeah.
So there's really, that is just them not paying enough attention to the minimap. I'm surprised that not any of the FlyQuest members did notice that, because you really need to have your eyes glued around that Baron buff, especially knowing your opponents have a Mountain Dragon. Makes pro teams that much more likely to be willing to try to rush it down, and that's a huge advantage now for Clutch.
I mean, if you only had one guy looking at the minimap, yes, I could understand it as an error. Huni was only on the minimap for a second. But when you have a full team of 5 players and no one catches it, that is honestly just a really critical mistake that could cost FlyQuest an entire game.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly can decide the game just like that. So we'll see now how Clutch are able to kind of extend their lead with this Baron buff. It is definitely not a death blow just yet, but if they can pick up a ton of gold with this, really extend their gold lead with the Baron power play, that would be enormous for them and perhaps give them the in to win the game.
And the easiest way to build those big Baron power plays is standing turret money. We normally talk about, hey, there's some free money to be taken when tier 2s are still left alive after you have Baron. This is a tier 1. Azael. This is just a big old loop pinata. Grab your bat and smack it hard. This is how you get yourself some extra economy in the pockets for Clutch Gaming. And there you go, Damonte collecting on that.
Yep, going to be able to grab that gold for himself and the team. Huni pushing up that top lane. You can see the rest of this Clutch squad is rotating up to the top side. They're going to look for Viper.
Clutch Gaming almost finding their pick, and there you go. A shutdown onto the enemy's solo laner means that they've got themselves their opportunity to push now. It's Pobelter in the bottom side backing up, trying to get back to the base in time to make this defense happen with the rest of FlyQuest.
Yeah, critical mistakes here, honestly. Viper, the overchase earlier cost him his flash, then going aggressive without knowing where the rest of the Clutch team was. You have no flash to get out of there when they showed up, so he gets knocked down. Clutch are going to likely be able to take down this inhibitor turret, but Cody Sun getting hit by a lot of ricochets there from Wild Turtle. Did do a very good job of actually dissuading that push from continuing. The Sivir really starting to come online almost at that 3-item mark, so Turtle has great wave clear and certainly damage is ramping up.
On the same time though, Clutch Gaming, look at Damonte, 5-0-1 on this Akali, working on getting that third big item completed. Already has the Gunblade with the completed Morellonomicon just to make sure that any sort of healing that could come through is not going to change the outcome of him assassinating his target. And I remember when Damonte was popping off last split at the very beginning, he was playing a lot of Galio, and then Galio got nerfed, and I specifically remember him tweeting, well, I don't know what to do now, they nerfed Galio. But now, he's playing a bunch of different champions. He's finding success on things like this Akali.
Viper, what
and
you
now
doing,
Viper has slithered himself into a bad spot yet again. There's a snake in the boot of Clutch Gaming, and they will stomp it right back into the dirt. A killing spree for Cody Sun.
Yeah, Viper just so far up without vision. I mean, where's your closest ward, right? You know, is this ward supposed to be protecting you to make that push, right? Like you are so far up with no vision, no idea of where Clutch is, so that is a very risky play, and he is going to get punished for it. Does get knocked down once again here. Pobelter was pushing on the other side, and sometimes teams are in a position where they feel like, okay, we just need pressure somewhere on the map, someone do something, so maybe that is the call. Hey, Viper, shove that up there. If you get picked off, we'll get something elsewhere, but that didn't really happen. They didn't get vision anywhere. You know, as a result of that, they weren't taking a turret on the other side of the map, so it will just be Clutch getting the kill and likely grabbing this turret here pretty easily. Cody Sun also worth noting, he's on 3 items also. He is really, really strong at this point. He has an additional Brawler's Glove, will be working towards a second Zeal item, and he is going to be that late game team fight win condition that we talked about. He has been so good throughout his career for that style.
Yeah, back on Immortals, back on 100 Thieves. When remember their debut split for 100 Thieves in spring split of last year, they made it to the final against Team Liquid, and although they lost that final, they had a very impressive split overall. Cody Sun's part of that roster. When Immortals made some big plays back in the LCS before the franchising era, who was the AD carry? Cody Sun. Although he has had some pretty bad moments as well, people remember things like some of his plays at Worlds where he wasn't able to perform under pressure. He's still a very talented player, and this could be the exact kind of guy that you need to make compositions like this really sing.
Yeah, certainly the case, and now having double Zeal, Essence Reaver as well as that eye, he's going to be 100% crit, so he's going to be monstrously strong at this point in the game. You know, every attack will mean so much if he does get any free firing time. He will be shredding you down with that 100% crit.
You can see Wild Turtle immediately had to pop the ulti in the mid lane. As soon as he saw Lyra running at him with the Predator and the Righteous Glory, he was like, nope, don't want anything to do with this one. You can see the Giant's Belt on Wild Turtle, or not on Wild Turtle, excuse me, on Lyra as well. Going to be getting tankier and tankier as Cloud Drake is coming up. Securing this for Clutch is pretty important. Keeps the movement speed gap manageable in the fights. Doesn't mean it's a 3-0 Cloud lead for FlyQuest anymore. And also critically, that Drake was taken 15 seconds or so before the threshold for the next Drake being Elder, so there will still be one more baby Drake before the Elder comes online.
Yeah, and we'll see if it's going to be a big one, you know, something like along the lines of another Infernal will really have the teams. Yeah, so another Infernal does matter a lot. You know, the later you are into the game, it means so much more, that scaling Dragon, so teams will really want to be fighting pretty heavily for that. Clutch, though, establishing some vision here around the Baron Pit. Not going to spot that ward critically just yet in that Baron Pit. Lyra will, yeah, the sweeper actually expires, so they may just not really get knowledge of that. And we saw how important that was in the earlier TL game today. Smithy, you know, getting a steal against Optic because of a missed ward, so may come into play as we go further into this. You know, noting Damonte's build here, kind of has a bit of a mishmash of items. You know, I'm not sure if he just grabbed the large rod for a bit of power now, but you know, large rod plus the blasting wand doesn't build into anything. You know, that is not going to be an item completion. So maybe he's just going to make the pit stop for something along the lines of a void staff, and then later on build towards that death.
FlyQuest, although they're not in a completely back-broken type of position, remember this is a team that was dead even with Clutch Gaming, and then after the Baron play, they're 4K behind. They're going to lose even more. Cody's son goes on a rampage, and I really like the way Clutch Gaming is doing this. They're saying, look at the enemy team. You've got an Hourglass, 3 QSSs, and 1 big dude that you can just yoink into the team every single time. It does not matter that this is the support. Recall the grand final from last split, TSM versus Team Liquid. How does Team Liquid come back into a series? They're down 0-2, they grab Smoothie. You take the support and you have a 5v4. It works.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to take what you can get. They grab that guaranteed kill. It's unlikely you're going to be able to get a huge priority target like the Sivir, who has QSS, Spell Shield, Flash, all these things available. So they take what they can get. You know, they had this early power from Damonte, who has been doing so well. And thus far, Clutch have kind of answered all the questions that we had for them in Champ Select about, you know, can you close out a game? It's somewhat of a narrow win condition when you don't have a ton of engage, but they're using that engage well. And they got an early lead, which was critical for them. And now, again, second Baron buff this game. We'll see if they can deal any kind of critical damage with it. There is an open inhibitor on the top side, and they may want to just try to group and fight for it.
Lyra does not have the ulti available just yet, but critically, Huni does have that stolen Nautilus ulti still ready to go. Means Clutch Gaming does have engage if they need it. Inhibitor under siege. Huni drops off that Nautilus ultimate, then gets himself back, just making sure FlyQuest isn't able to engage before Clutch is ready with a full 5-man squad. Really got to respect Turtle and those bouncing boomerangs. Lyra using Righteous Glory, seeing if maybe there's a chance to go after some kind of a play. Has ulti, no flash though, and that means Clutch will take the inhib and back out.
Yeah, I like the call actually to just give up the inhib. Losing your top inhibitor at this point in the game matters almost not at all. I really don't think it's a big deal whatsoever. So they're going to use that time for Viper to clear out that mid lane, because losing that second inhibitor is really where you want to try to fight. Gets Turtle time as well to go back complete an item, so he is nearing full build. He is now on 4 items. Cody's even closer to that. You know, certainly 2 very high-powered marksmen. They want to try to defend this second inhibitor. That is the critical one.
And there you have another stolen Nautilus ulti for the side of Clutch Gaming, ready to continue to use these as engage or counter-engage as they see fit. Not bothering to set up a 4-1 split with this Baron buff. It would take them a little bit of time to get the minion wave where they need it in bottom side, and they only have a bit over 60 seconds left on the timer, so they want to try to use this and break this pace.
Yeah, and they're going to just use that ultimate from the Nautilus to actually push back Pobelter.
Nice damage onto POV, and they're going to go even further in now. Lyra's not able to go further enough to find himself a pull, but FlyQuest still can't do anything in retaliation. Deluxe shields are keeping these health bars in such good shape.
Yeah, that was honestly a great play. Utilizing the stolen Nautilus ultimate plus the Lux ultimate across onto Pobelter just pushes him back off the tower. That allows them to just walk forward, knock down the inhibitor tower, take a second inhibitor here, and they're going to have the reset with plenty of time to get back for this Infernal Dragon. So looking very, very good, and I think it was honestly a pretty smart decision to be looking for that 5v5 because of the strong engage on the side of FlyQuest. If you try to walk up in a 4v5, the ability to pop Sivir ultimate, Nautilus ultimate, and find a fight is still there for FlyQuest, and they still have, you know, some very strong members who are scaling into this late game.
They're getting there, but they are up against that 6-item full build now, Xayah. The Sylas getting there. Damonte still needing to buy a little bit more here for the Akali. But with the Infernal Drake going down, that's even more damage in the back pocket for Clutch Gaming. They've got 2 inhibitors already gone, means everybody can focus their attention onto this bottom lane. Baron power play times out just shy of 2,500 gold. However, with the 2 inhibitors down, you won't even really need the Baron as much to take this third one. You just have to play it right and play it patiently.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to play it very patiently. Pobelter, if he could win this 1v1, would be huge, but he's getting crushed right now. Does get out with his life. Damonte dropping the ultimate and Gunblade. Pobelter is able to survive, but will be sent back to base. And without the Baron buff, you should be able to wave clear pretty effectively. You do have the Sivir. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, in this type of a situation. So we'll see if Huni, you know, with his stolen ultimate, can try to pull off the same type of play that they did in the mid lane to zone them off the turret and buy them time to just step forward.
The important part is the top and mid waves are now crashing. Super Minions making their way into the base of FlyQuest means Clutch Gaming has a little bit more room to work with, as Turtle's attention will not be solely focused on the bottom lane. Cody Sun instantly killing the minions as they arrive into bottom side. Luckily for FlyQuest, the waves are not colliding in a synchronized way, as Lyra once again will be going to the pull onto JJ. They're not going to grab the kill this time. Lyra goes into the stopwatch, still going to be keeping himself alive, but not for long. Viper gets the kill. He goes into a stasis of his own, but has to pop the QSS.
Oh.
It is a 1-for-0. That was the other side of the pull the support coin. If he's not isolated enough, you immediately get punished.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly the punish did come through in that situation. You know, Nautilus, I believe, had already gotten his ultimate off before getting pulled, so Zeke's was procced, so he has the aftershock from that CC landing. He's going to be tougher to knock down in that sort of a spot, and without the Baron buff, the wave clear is pretty trivial. They want to make an aggressive play here, perhaps to try to take down this turret, but as they step forward, Mooney, the hook comes in from JJ, he drops the ultimate. See, the ultimate was timed before the Skarner ult came out, so Aftershock really helping to keep him alive, Turtle getting a ton of damage down, and then you can see actually the power of this late game Sivir and Elise. This Spiderling, I believe, proccing on Cody-san plus a Boomerang Blade, that is about 80% of his health from just that.
Yeah. That's why Cody can't go anywhere too close to these fights.
Gotta be careful.
Unless Lyra is gift wrapping him a couple of kills. But unfortunately for the side of Clutch Gaming, didn't play out the way they were hoping right there. You can see Lyra with the Kindle Gem in inventory, probably going for that Warmogs as the next completed item to make sure if he does absorb that poke, it's not going to send him home.
Yeah, and Sivir just about 6 items, really, at this point in the game. So, you know, Turtle going for a very expensive build. You know, has a lot of AD in this build and will also be sitting on 100% crit when he does complete that final item. You know, going to be looking very, very powerful at this point in the game. Clutch still have the run of the map with these multiple inhibitors being knocked down. The Baron has respawned. They're going to use the Realm Warp to go straight in.
They're Realm Warping right into the Baron pit and burning it down. There's no way FlyQuest can even contest it. It's too much damage. A very nice play from Clutch.
Yeah, that was just great from them. Pushing up mid lane, making sure that Fly is not in a position to answer, and then just Realm Warp straight into that Baron pit, burn it down. FlyQuest will remain on the defensive here, and now with this Baron buff, it becomes so much harder to defend these turrets. Without Baron buff, you know, really one Boomerang Blade and Ricochet kills the whole wave. But when they do have the Baron buff, it's so much harder for Sivir to knock it down. It becomes really, really difficult at this point in the game to be able to manage all the waves clear with multiple waves coming in with a Baron buff. You can see that they have set up, you know, in this 1-3-1 type of scenario, waves being pushed up on all sides.
Cody Sun, Vulcan, and Lyra getting ready to continue pressuring onto the remaining tier 3. CC coming out onto Poe Belter, taking him down to half HP means he has to get away. Predator still popped by Lyra. Mooney makes his way down to the bottom lane as well, and inhibitors are exposed. Mid lane will respawn here in only a moment, but all three likely to drop very rapidly. Santorum below half HP. Lyra's able to find himself a pull only onto the support once more, still looking to bring him down, and JJ is gone. FlyQuest are in a 4v5. FlyQuest base is getting destroyed, and Clutch Gaming seem to have this one on lock. All they need to do is put these final 4 nails in the coffin. Can they get the kill for the side of FlyQuest? Vulcan goes into the station, keeping himself alive. Pobelter's going to be brought down, and FlyQuest seemingly just cannot find a way in. The engage is not there, the health is not there, and Clutch Gaming will take FlyQuest down. They'll pad their stats on the way out. Why do it if you can't look good at the same time? GG! Clutch Gaming takes the win.
And Clutch Gaming with another win here, improving to 3-3. FlyQuest will slip to 1-5 on the split, not the start that they wanted. But so much credit here, I think, deserved by Damonte. Really a big difference maker for the team. They had fairly narrow win conditions, but they played it out very, very well. Their solos were having a huge impact. And Lyra, there was so much pressure on him to find the right engages, to make things happen, really as the only form of engage on the team, and he was constantly finding these picks on JJ. Didn't seem like FlyQuest really had an answer.
And FlyQuest, I mean, they're tied for last in the LCS now. They're there with Echo Fox and 100 Thieves, and as we said coming into this game, it's a cause for concern now. Starting off this was a team that you didn't have the same explanation for while the strength of schedule was difficult.
Yeah.
Clutch Gaming was 2-3 going into this, so FlyQuest definitely a lot of work to do. But Clutch Gaming, man, Demonte finishing this game with no deaths. Cody's son finishing this game with no deaths. But when I'm looking at the game, my player of the game has got to be Huni, who was just constantly stealing these ultimates, zoning people away, becoming such a threat in these fights. 1-1-11 on the Silas means he had all but 1 kill participation in the game. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he did a really, really good job, and that's certainly something that he was using very creatively to kind of solve some of their engage problems, right? When they didn't have necessarily the safest siege, not a super long-range marksman, well, steal the Nautilus ult, drop the Nautilus ult, and the Lux ult to zone people off the turrets. Nautilus ult does a ton of damage when you have that much AP, so they were able to find really creative solutions, I think, to some of their problems in their composition, and they're making it look good.
Well, Clutch Gaming has hit that .500 mark, and for more on their win today, Ovly standing by for an interview. Take it away.
Thanks, guys. Huni, congratulations on the win. That was a super fun game to watch. What did you think about the game and your performance today?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, that was a really fun to watch the game, but for the player, it was kind of like, oh, why can we not finish it? But I was like, actually, like we had some mistakes, but like I think I'm pretty satisfied with like what we did because we actually won and we figured out like how should we end up the game, and then we got like easily like with the setups, our like. Everything was pretty good. I think every teammates are pretty satisfied with our performance, what we did.
Well, tell me a little bit about the state of the team, because you guys had a rough week 1 start, great week 2, and then now like a consistent week 3.
Yeah, I mean, we've shown kind of like everything that like probably like what was like our weaknesses and then what was our like strongest. Like there's every team's like start to perma banning versus me, like Rumble, those stuff. Like I don't really know, but that's just like really good things that like we actually shown, and then they're like, oh, they're really scared. Oh, if Huni's get Rumble, like, oh, what we should do, like kind of that stuff. Like I think it was like really pretty good, but it's pretty sad that like we could have played way better for our first week, which is like we went 0-2, but I think it's still pretty fine. From there, we actually learned a lot as a team, and we figured out what was our problem and like all the mistakes and stuff. Like that's why we shown on the week 2 really stronger. And week 3, we had a just like bad game yesterday, and then we're gonna be stronger, even stronger towards the playoff.
And it's good to be scared of you. But later on today, you and Vulcan are going to be joining Freak on cooldown. We're gonna have some fun mini games for you. Are you excited for that? I mean,
as you guys see, like for example, like kind of science bit, kind of like I'm really strong for like mini game, like so I can't wait for that.
Mini game master, you can't ban you out in that. Congratulations again on the win, and for more on the game, let's hear from the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Ovly. I, as well, am very excited for the mini games, but Clutch moving to a smooth 500 record at 3-3, while the struggles continue for FlyQuest here on the outside of the summer split, now 1-5. But this game was exciting because not only was there a lot of early action, with some playmaking solo laners, we also had that fun little lane swap, so a lot of craziness coming from all directions.
Yeah, you heard Huni kind of talking about how it was probably not that fun to play in. We enjoyed it. He sounded pretty stressed out about it because it was pretty back and forth. And it was a very scrappy game early on. I mean, Demonte got his flash force, fell 20 CS behind, and was actually in a pretty big deficit, but did a really good job clawing back in this game and having a fantastic Akali performance.
Yeah, he did a really good job getting back a lot of these kills in some of the scrappy fights. And there's this big role here. This was a big turning point for him, especially. He got 2 out of it, is able to get around in the Shroud, uses his ultimate to escape and get the execute, so he survived after it.
Yeah, the fact that he lived after that was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, and eventually they do have a pretty good pick team comp too, with the Lux Skarner and a fair amount of burst damage from their solo laner. So they can try and find these bindings on their turrets, and of course you have FlyQuest trying to engage and contest that. A bit of a weird pick for Santorin, that Elise. I still feel like he hasn't found his champion pool quite like he had last split.
I'm a big fan of Elise, actually. And one of the things when I was studying LEC for upcoming Rift Rivals, like they have this huge priority on it. I think it's super strong right now, especially in high elo solo queue. It's picked all the time, really good at snowballing. But for some reason in the LCS, not many of our teams are looking to play that way. So I
said for Santorin, and nothing you've said is contested.
So I do think that it is maybe a separate issue that you triggered in my mind, Mark, but I really do think that more teams should be looking to embrace Elise, and these AP junglers, so many of them can be so useful.
I think it's fair to defend the pick as a pick, but then still have criticisms for it in the hands of Santorin, because one of the things that we kind of lauded FlyQuest for all throughout the spring split was their macro play and their decision-making around objectives and ability to converge on 5v5s and set 5v5s up. But a lot of that seems to have fallen to the wayside this time around, forfeiting a Baron at one point just because they weren't in position to contest at all.
And it didn't feel like they even were respecting the fact Clutch would think about it, because they kind of saw Huni walk into the pit and they were just like, man, they're not going for it. And they just lose the Baron out of nowhere. They were 3-3 at the end of week 3 last split and finished 4th place. And they just look like they've taken a gigantic step backwards from spring. It's super disappointing.
Yesterday, when we had Countdown, we were talking about FlyQuest and their losses, and we said if they keep on losing, then it's time to panic. Well, they
1-5
are continuing to lose here, and it's not looking very good.
Are you panicked, though? Is it time to panic on Kobe's panic?
I have pretty low blood pressure. It takes a lot to make me really
so
panic.
all right.
Panicked.
So we'll wait for week 4 then, and we'll have to see.
Week
if
7,
your blood
Kobe.
pressure
They're 1 in.
there. We already mentioned it, Mark. You already mentioned it. Demonte was a star performer in this game in particular. After a very rough start, put up an extraordinarily impressive scoreline. Did not die once, even after that blown flash and going down in lane in terms of CS.
Yeah, and I love seeing him on the Akali back when he had that great Galio performance in spring that you heard the cast talking about. He also had some good Akali performances. She was a lot more powerful then, but it shows that he still understands the champion quite well. So I'm excited to see him giving these kind of champions that have their own agency.
Yeah, I do think that he is one of these stars to nurture. North American talent they've been trying to build up, and it does, take a while to get more champions into that same pool where you respect them as much as these ones, but it is growing.
Yeah, 0-2, 2-0, 1-1 for Clutch Gaming brings them to 3-3 at the end of week 3. Game 5 has Golden Guardians versus Counterlogic Gaming. If you want to put a microscope on that matchup, pick up your premium viewing experience at riot.com/ProView. Get access to player POVs and a host of stats so you can track every moment throughout Game 5. Meet us back here for Golden Guardians versus CLG after this.
Vulcan the target. He doesn't